China, Taiwan, and South Korea have flattened the spread of the disease by using tracking apps. And some areas, it's even required. Forbes magazine reports Western countries such as the United States are slower to deploy the Bluetooth-based tech. Some apps have been developed right here in the Tucson area at the U of A, but have not yet become mainstream. The tracking apps require you to give up some of your information, such as your name, your phone number, and other contact information, and of course, permission to track your location. That's where it gets a little bit difficult for people to swallow. Potential users are calling for an anonymous use and the ability to opt out or delete all if they choose. Also, did you ever wonder how third world countries get their internet content? Here in the United States, we just connect to Wi-Fi, but other areas have the data bundles that are copied and distributed by flash drive. Then they're plugged into standalone PCs and offline networks. But the Bloomberg reports Africa's biggest pay TV multi-choice, which is a firm, to add Netflix and Amazon to their services of networks. So Netflix is making an effort to produce more African content, but may be slowed right now by COVID-19. Also, a facial recognition company claims that it can predict criminals based solely on the picture of their face. BBC News reported Wednesday the software is intended to help law enforcement prevent crime. One Harrisburg research member, a former police officer, wrote that identifying the criminality of a person from their facial image will enable a significant advantage for law enforcement agencies and other intelligence agencies to prevent crime from occurring. The researchers claim that their software operates with no racial bias. University of Cambridge computer science researcher Critia De Silva commenting on the controversy and said, "It is irresponsible for anyone to think that they can predict criminality based solely on the picture of a person's face." Other sources say the technology is far away from being considered infallible. Now we'd like to go into the segment where we'd like to call social media and the law. In this segment, we're going to be talking about the legal immunity of social media. It has gotten some recent attention with regards to the role that social media plays in society. According to the Department of Justice, they are issuing recommendations for Section 230 reform about rules regarding the definition of some words such as decency, good faith, and exploitive content. They're in the process of being updated. Now, even as our technology gets updated, the laws of the land need to be updated to adjust to those technologies to keep up with the changing times. Some of these laws that are in existence may date back to 1992, 2011, and even further back to the times of wire, radio communication, telegraphs, telephones, and radio telegraphs. Those were the technology at the time. But with regard to the protection for private blocking and screening of offensive material. So if you think about communication just 100 to 150 years ago, wire, radio, and telegraph were everyday terms. But today, even cell phones, Wi-Fi, and even Bluetooth are nothing more than just advanced radio signaling, a scientific principle dating back over 200 years. With that amount of time, the terms and laws need to be updated because things like illicit content, child abuse, terrorism, cyber stalking, cyber bullying, the definition of what good faith is. You see, these are all things that need to be updated. So, to shed some light on the subject, we have on the phone with us Eugene Vamos. He is a patent law attorney here in Tucson, and he can answer some of these questions. Thanks for being with us, Eugene.
Good afternoon. Yes, it's a pleasure being in your radio program, and I am ready to try to sift through all these various laws and definitions that you've put out there.
Okay.
So yes.
So here's the first question, Eugene. As of now, what kind of legal immunity does Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram and other social media platforms have right now?
So in terms of legal immunity, it all started in 1996, where part of a larger act, Section 230, is the word of the day, was created to foster the growth of the Internet by allowing online platforms to freely disseminate information without having to examine or review the information for harmful content, such as pornography, hate speech, libelous speech, terrorism. Go back to 1996, companies were AOL, Prodigy, CompuServe, and they did not have the means or the technology to go through those reviews without, having business issues. The first thing that was done is it provided legal immunity to online platforms for the posting of harmful content by users. So, for example, if a user writes a defamatory review of a restaurant in Yelp, Yelp is not legally liable, even though the online platform facilitated the content. Second, it provides legal immunity to online platforms for the removal or the restriction of harmful content. That is, if they exercise editorial control over the content, in terms of
So right now, these platforms can remove content according to their editing power and as far as essentially they're censoring their platform.
Well, it's only in certain categories that the immunity is given, and those are obscenity, lewdness, lasciviousness, filthiness, excessive violence, harassing content, and otherwise objectionable content. So, yes, there is, the internet, in terms of the content, there's limited space. So when somebody puts something in, that means something is out.
Okay. Right. So in as far as this new reform goes, if the legal immunity changes, which is the next question, if that legal immunity changes, how would that affect people that use social media today and in the future?
Yeah, no, and there's a lot of talk about changing 230. It's a political punching bag in the sense that everybody hates it and everyone should change it. From conservatives, liberals, Biden, Trump, they all agree it needs to be changed. They just don't know what to change it in. The major change is that they want to eliminate some of the legal immunities. Some say, well, we want to eliminate everything. And others say, well, we want to eliminate dealings with child abuse, terrorism, cyberstalking, hate speech, revenge porn, or fake political speech. So there's people wanting to take away those liability immunities for that particular subjects. However, if I'm Yelp, I'm Instagram, I'll be naturally cautious about what people are posting, and I would probably a lot of content will be removed because there's a lot of things that are iffy. Maybe some categories are pretty clear, but some other categories, who knows in terms of ambiguity. What is hate speech? What is a terrorist declaration? What is fake news? So, and a lot of the laws are just those words, and then you're up to figuring out what that means. And if I'm a counsel for Facebook, I would say take it all out. So, hey, if I'm liable, and so it's all about a business transaction. If I get these 2 or 3 things that are seen to be a little iffy, I'll take them out. So in order for me to not get sued, and so you'll be seeing, if that happens, probably a lot more content removal.
And the other thing that I just want to mention, I've posted things on Facebook before for advertising purposes. There's a very stringent type of format that you have to follow. For example, the amount of text that's on a picture, or the type of message that you're trying to send, or exactly what you are selling. Now, a lot of these things are actually being passed by people, or at least if it's not people, they have me completely fooled, because to have even an artificial intelligence person to actually decide, or have a computer decide what is appropriate and not appropriate. Okay, there has to be some sort of human interaction, or at least to curve the to curve what is appropriate of what these companies want as appropriate. on their platform. So here's the final question. By the way, we are talking with Eugene Ramos. He's a patent law attorney here in Tucson, and we're talking about this 230 reform. And the last question we have for you, if you can let us know, if something is posted, because you deal with patent law, intellectual property, and copyrights, that's your specialty. So if something is posted, who does it belong to?
Well, Section 230, just to finish that up, does not control the belonging of IP, that or the liabilities of copyright infringement. That's another section or another law. But in terms of who owns the rights, you, the person who posts it, still is the owner. You still have the copyright. However, if you read at the fine print, it says that if it doesn't claim ownership, but instead you give grant to Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever, a non-exclusive, fully paid, royalty-free, transferable, sublicensable, worldwide license to use the content. Mm-hmm. So basically, they can do whatever they want because they have a license to do that.
All right.
So if you want to use, monetize your poem or your meme, don't post it on Facebook because they can put it all over, and then you have no control.
Eugene, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your office, your website, your phone number, if they want to get a hold of you for any patent law or intellectual property or copyright infringement.
Yes, I can be reached at vamospatentlaw.com, and my number is 520-222-6879. And, like you said, I do a lot of IP work with copyrights, trademarks, and patents for small business people who need that expertise, and I'm available for anybody to just give me a call.
All right. Thank you, Eugene. Up next on the Computer Doctor Show, we're going to be continuing our discussion on social media immunity reform and how it affects your interactions online. Also, we're going to be taking some of your calls to our open lines again at 520-790-2040. You're listening to the Computer Doctor Show on KVOI 1030 Tucson. We'll be right back after this quick break. Stay tuned.
When your car breaks down, who can you call? The local mechanic. Timing belt, brakes, and tune-ups? Who can you call? The local mechanic. When you don't have time for vehicle service, who can come to you? The local mechanic. Keep your car running at its best with honest, reliable, and even mobile services at the local mechanic. Call 771-5191 or visit their website, thelocalmechanictucson.com.
Ugly Goose Car Rental is new in Tucson, providing a low-cost auto rental alternative for just $100 per week. The only catch? The cars are ugly, but very safe and reliable to get you to work, school, shopping, and all your important appointments. To reserve your $100 a week car rental, call Ugly Goose Car Rental at 520-261-0439. Again, 520-261-0439.
Perfect Look Photography is a photography business that serves individuals, families, wedding parties, children's parties, quinceañeras, and family reunions. We also do headshots for actors and model portfolios. We photograph all types of events in Tucson and communities in Pima and Santa Cruz counties. In addition, we provide more types of photos than any photographer in Tucson, including green screen, art photography, montages, and DVD slideshows. We provide great photos at great prices. For more information or to get a quote, please call 499-4209.
Solar is popping up all over town. Why? Because solar just makes sense. Say goodbye to expensive summer electricity bills. Call or text Julie Festerling at Icon Power, 520-307-1013. Avoid the new 7.9% price increase with the utility company. Call Julie at 520-307-1013. Icon Power will help you take control of your electric bill.
Computer Doctor of Tucson is the best choice in desktop support in Tucson. They fix error messages, power and boot problems, install of software and hardware, and much more. You can come to them, or they can come to you, or even have a remote support session so they can fix your issues over the phone quickly. Give them a call at 261-5508, 261-5508. Visit them on the web at computerdoctortucson.com. Computer Doctor of Tucson, because technology is great when it works.
And welcome back to the Computer Doctor Show. More and more people are getting hitched on Zoom amid this pandemic, and good friends of mine are getting married by way of Zoom tonight. So I want to offer a nice big congratulations to Martin Gonzalez and Wendy Hamilton on their safe Zoom wedding happening tonight at 6 p.m. On a personal note, if it wasn't for Wendy, I would not have met my wife. So very happy that you guys are tying the knot in a safe way, and me and my wife will be tuning in. Continuing our discussion on social media reform, will it change social media moving forward? So we were able to get an interview with another attorney on this subject this week. So let's listen to that. With us today is Steve Moshure with Hayes Soloway Worldwide. He is an attorney with 30 years experience primarily in commercial business tort and intellectual property law. With regard to this 230 reform, we're going to be talking to him a little bit. Thanks for being with us, Steve.
My pleasure, Aaron.
So when it comes to this reform, what do social media users kind of need to know moving forward?
Well, in the first instance, reform is very much in the eye of the beholder. And this particular topic is very timely and absolutely red hot. Red hot continuously since the 2016 presidential election, and probably increasingly so since that time. Your specific question, what do social media users need to know? Probably the main point that they need to know is, with or without any type of reform, however that may be conceived, social media users need to know that what they individually post on social media could potentially result in liability to them. The issue primarily from Section 230 is whether hosts of platforms such as Facebook and Twitter and others have some type of safe harbor immunity from civil liability under various circumstances. So Section 230 is not really intended to protect me from what I post on social media. It's intended to protect the host of the site that is hosting the third-party content. If Facebook is to be held liable for every single thing, every wacky thing that somebody posts on Facebook, then Facebook is not a viable business and could not have existed from the beginning, and could not continue to exist today. Some type of action other than having a site on which third parties post is probably essential to any ongoing entity such as Facebook or any of its multiple thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of other sites that host third-party content. The main point, though, is social media users themselves are really not the point of this particular proposed revisions or reconsideration of Section 230.
So does this reform change the way governments may access or any of these things? Like, if something does change, do people need to be concerned about what government access they may have, perhaps even to their account, or what information they can use or not use?
Well, interestingly enough, the Department of Justice discussion of at least what the Department of Justice under William Barr has in mind is that specifically the immunity will be removed entirely for federal governmental civil enforcement actions. So what
does that mean exactly?
What that means is that in a civil lawsuit, the United States government can access content and can seek to impose liability in appropriate circumstances, even against a third-party host. Would increase the ability of the government to, as the Department of Justice characterizes it, to protect citizens from unlawful conduct. That's the words used, but the particulars, by making it clear that Section 230 does not apply to civil enforcement actions brought by the federal government. That's another way of saying is that the immunity is stripped away when the federal government is a party to the proceeding.
Right. So incidents perhaps involving child abuse, terrorism, cyber stalking, cyberbullying, things like that. Posts like that are admissible in court, right? So even if the material was posted by way of social media.
Absolutely, and that's been the case. That would be the case if the types of modifications that the Department of Justice is proposing, and that undoubtedly will continue to be the case no matter what, if anything, happens to Section 230.
Okay.
Those are all areas that are frankly carved out from the immunity.
I gotcha. And the article does mention carve-outs several times. But here's the final question. Are there any laws that protect the information on these platforms? Do the users have any protection at all?
Yes and no. They have very broad protection under the First Amendment. And that means a lot, and it's always meant a lot in our civil system, under our system of law. What it doesn't mean, though, is that user content is somehow beyond the scope of the law. Again, activity that's in furtherance of a crime is now and will in the future be, and will always be, directly actionable. A person posting can be liable, and there's no civil immunity, even from the part of the host, to act in furtherance of a crime.
Right. So we did talk a little bit about shouting fire in the middle of a public place. That would be something protection. Same thing would apply to social media for any speech that would create a dangerous situation.
Absolutely, particularly speech that's likely to cause imminent harm to another is not protected speech. Defamation is not protected speech. If I post on Facebook and defame another person, make a false statement of material fact, I have potential liability for that conduct. It's not free speech. Definitionally, defamation is not free speech.
I am so sorry, but we got to cut that interview short, only because of time. But we would like to thank both of our awesome guests for being on the show today, as well as our sponsors, Icon Power, The Local Mechanic, Perfect Looks Photography, and Ugly Goose Car Rental. Please do business with them. They are local. They'll take good care of you, and they actually help keep this show on the air. So if you did miss any part of this broadcast, we post all of our episodes online at thecomputerdoctorshow.com. That's computerdoctorshow.com. Remember, the world is getting more and more tech, and so should you. My name is Aaron Moss, your host and technology expert. Tom Fairbanks is at the control board. Listen to the Computer Doctor Show every Saturday at 2 p.m. broadcasting on KVOI 1030 The Voice. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you again next week.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. The last few months have been particularly hard on the travel industry. Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky likens it to a torpedo across the bow.
The first dark moment was when we had about $1 billion of cancellations from guests.
And now that much of the world is starting to emerge from the shutdowns, Chesky says travel as we knew it is over.
It doesn't mean travel's gone, but that travel's gone. And nobody knows quite what it's going to be because it's really up to the industry to invent the way forward.
Chesky says that way forward may include travelers blurring the line between work and play.
If you can work from home, you could theoretically work from any home, anywhere in the world, so long as you're in the right time zone.
Airbnb started offering live-streamed experiences during the pandemic, like chats with Olympic athletes and Broadway stars. Chesky says that could be a big part of its post-virus recovery.
The biggest asset in your life is not your home, it's your time. And just like COVID is going to, like restaurants are shut down, sports are shut down, we're going to see is a whole new era of entertainment.
Nathan Hager, Bloomberg.
CBS News Update. We're seeing coronavirus cases soar in some states like Arizona that tried to reopen during the pandemic. Dr. Lisa Goldberg is emergency room director at the Tucson Medical Center.
It's difficult when you're watching, people on beaches, people in restaurants, everything open up as if nothing